There is a genuine, real fear that I won't be able to provide for my kids if something happens.
50?
Holy smokes.
I don't know.
That was 6.
Oh, okay.
I thought 6 was going to be a shocking number.
I was going up. I don't know.
What kind of food do they have in Ireland?
Shepherd's pie? I don't know. It actually is not about me at all. It's all about God.
We often say you can't outgive God, but you can outworry God.
Yeah. I don't know if this is what Jesus is doing, but it feels...
My daughter the other day asked, hey, Dad, sometimes I think it'd be like really cool if something happened and we had to sue them when we got a lot of money. And I was like, what? She was like, nothing like really bad or whatever. And she was watching I can't remember, what was it? A video where there was like a man on the street asking how much money's in your bank account. This one guy said, a few $1 million. Or whatever. And the reason was because he was a designated driver one night. They got pulled over and they all got detained and they wouldn't allow him to take a breathalyzer. He's like, I'll take a breathalyzer test. I'm not drunk. And they wouldn't give him a breathalyzer. A lawsuit happens. He gets millions of dollars because they didn't do their job properly or whatever. She's like, I just think it'd be really cool.
To suddenly become a millionaire.
Like, usually the question is like, what would you do if you hit the lottery? Well, I don't gamble. So that's not a legitimate question. So what would you do?
Someone wronged me.
What would you do, Maggie, if someone wronged you and you got like millions of dollars from a lawsuit? Nothing bad. Nothing happened to your family. Just
what would I do with the money?
Yeah. You get $10 million.
$10 million.
What do you do with $10 million?
I have relatives who are unable to retire because of situations that have happened in their lives. And I've always thought it would be really nice to pay off their debt.
To retire them?
And help them, not have to work until they're dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's one thing you would buy yourself? I'm just curious. Like, what's the thing?
I'm not a spender. The thing that I like spending money on is trips. I like traveling.
Yeah. Where would you go?
Probably Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Or China.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why Ireland? Ireland and China are very different places.
Yeah. There is maybe it's Scotland. This is really bad that I don't know this difference. There is a collection of islands called the Hebrides. And there's a revival that happened there a long time ago. There's a book that I've read that Mutheu and I like pass this book back and forth all the time. It's called Revival in the Hebrides. It's like a 90-page book, very short, but it's very expensive because there aren't very many copies.
Okay.
And I got my hands on one. And so she and I pass this book back and forth all the time when we want to like remember snippets of it.
Yeah.
So I would love to go and visit those islands and see some of the I don't know if they're monuments, but just some of the statues and things that have been memorialized of that event, because a lot of the current missions movement came out of that revival in the Hebrides.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
That's what you would do with your
and
winning.
China, because I'm part Chinese.
Yeah. That would have made sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the people who don't know.
Now we know what Maggie would do with all that money from her future lawsuit someday.
Yeah.
That comes up.
Yeah. Pay off family debt and travel.
Good for you. Good for you.
What would you do?
I'm not answering that question after you answered yours. Look how holy your question.
No,
your answers are.
It's not holy.
No. Your answer is like, I'm going to pay off the debt of my family members so they can retire. I'm going to go like to this place where revival broke out. I was like, come on, man.
Oh, but also to eat
Christian.
To eat good food. To eat good food. To
in
see,
Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
To see
what's the good
grass?
Food? To see grass.
To see grass and water.
Wait, hold on. What's the?
Don't they have rolling hills over there or something?
So. I don't know. What kind of food do they have in Ireland?
Shepherd's pie? I don't know.
Oh, you're so holy. It's fine. No. I don't know what I would do.
Okay.
Honestly. I'm not a big spender either. I'd probably do an epic trip to Alaska. And there's a lot of things I'd like to do.
Okay.
Like I'm talking, I would drop $50,000 on at least on our kids doing every cool experience we could find in Alaska, like dog sledding, all that stuff. We would do them. That's
Okay.
probably like a bucket list item. Other than that, I'm not sure what I
Yeah.
would do with that money.
Dogs?
We would give some to
Some.
people who need more than we do. Yeah. So not much, but I'm kidding.
Then blow it on Alaska.
So we're wrapping up our series on kind of the idea of do not fear that we
Right.
see God say many times in Scripture. Today we're talking about the fear of not lacking.
Mm.
Like we're talking about this financial fear that we all carry with us. 72% of Americans report feeling stressed about money at least some of the time.
Mm.
The average American checks their bank account. How many times do you think the average American checks their bank account in a week?
A week?
A week.
50?
Holy smokes.
I don't know.
That was 6.
Oh, okay.
I thought 6 was going to be a shocking number. You're like 50.
I don't know.
That's 6 times they check their bank account
Okay.
to make sure that they have what they need.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think back, there were seasons of my life that was absolutely true.
I, just for clarification, I don't check my bank account 50 times a week. I'm just guessing what other people
it's
do.
more. You guess it,
No.
you do more.
Significantly
Man,
less.
wow, that's a lot. Yeah, 6 times a week though. That's a lot of like concern about financial stability.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing to check your account. That's
About
all we're
once a
saying.
day.
But, huh?
It's about once a day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little more shocked at your psyche that would say 50 times.
I just assume that's how stressed people are.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. We're going to look at Luke chapter 12,
Mm-hmm.
specifically verse 32. This is like that do not worry passage that he says, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, all that stuff. He says, consider the ravens. They don't sow or reap. They don't have a storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than the birds. Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider how the wild flowers grow. They don't labor or spin, yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that's how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. And here's the key passage we're looking at. But seek first his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Then he even says, sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So he says, do not be afraid, do not fear, little flock, for your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. We live in a culture that says very differently than this.
Yeah, I'd say so.
There's a lot of like concern about our financial situations, the things that we have. There's a lot of, let's just use the word FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? Are you a FOMO person? Do you have FOMO? Like in general?
I don't think so.
No?
Mm-mm.
So if your team said they're going to go out for lunch and they didn't invite you, do you have a FOMO?
No.
Or are you like, oh, thank goodness?
Yeah, I get some quiet time to work.
Yeah. No more Tyler.
Now, if Tyler were to say, I'm going to get a cortado,
Oh,
I'd be like, FOMO!
She definitely has coffee FOMO.
Coffee FOMO.
Is that fair? Coffee
Yeah.
FOMO. Okay. Consumer culture tells us we need more to be happy, more to be secure, and more to be successful. So if you're making $50,000,
oh yeah,
we think $75,000 will be good.
Yep.
And then we're making $75,000, and we're like, well, $100,000 will be good.
Right.
And it just keeps going up. We keep moving the goalposts and constantly it's the chasing the Joneses. It's the constantly trying to get more to be happy and have that peace.
Yeah.
Curious how you've experienced that in your own life.
Definitely I think it's a similar idea where whatever size house you buy, you will fill the space that you have.
Every time.
Yeah. Every time. And I don't know how it happens. I do know. I buy things.
Yeah, but it also, at the same point, we don't.
It just, things appear.
Our first parsonage, like as a pastor, you got a parsonage. It was a large home. It was a great home. We were blessed to have it, but when we left, we were like, we only had 2 kids at the time. I was like,
Right.
why did we furnish every room in this house?
Right.
And why, now
There's
what do I do with it when I move to a smaller home?
Mm-hmm.
It's our culture. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No,
Yeah.
I don't really have much more to say about that other than that's how I've experienced it. I do think that fear, I'll talk about myself and then see if you concur with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think fear around money for me has always gone back to the ideas about money that I was raised with, which was fearful.
Yeah.
Like money is something to feel fear about and to worry about. And so even if I have enough, I'm afraid that I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for me, the way that I've experienced that reality is maybe less about keeping up with the Joneses and more about, I'm not going to have enough. I'm not going to have enough.
Yeah. Well, because Jesus doesn't promise wealth. He promises provision.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes we get those conflated, and we think we have to have wealth. We think we have to accumulate because that's what the world around us is doing. Tyler's got pulled up what I was thinking when I was talking about the treadmill. Achieving something such as buying a new car or receiving a promotion leads to a temporary boost in happiness. Over time, people adapt to the new circumstances, and the initial excitement fades, returning them to their usual level of happiness. This adaptation leads to setting new higher goals, constantly shifting to the finish line of happiness and making it difficult to sustain satisfaction. It's like moving the goalposts. So it's this constant thing. You get the raise, and then you change your standard of living. You get the raise, you change your standard of living. And my wife and I experienced this in our lives. Like we would, like, you get a raise, you get a new job, whatever it is, and you just you discover it's like, why isn't, like, we were okay before, and now we're still okay, but not better.
Right.
But we should be better. And the reason is we increase our standard of living. So I don't know. I think when we moved to Fort Wayne is when we kind of made the commitment. We're not going to increase our standard of living just because our income may or may not go up.
Yeah.
And we're gonna become more generous. We're going to the area we did like increase was, how do we invest in experiences with our kids? How do we take better vacations? We don't need to increase the amount of money we spend on cars. We don't need to increase the amount we spend on homes. We don't need to increase the amount we spend on food or on whatever it may be. So there's a decision we make to say the culture is going to influence me, or Jesus is going to influence me.
Right.
And I think this is what Jesus is really hitting at when we get into the Gospel of Luke here. He's like, hey, like I know the world cries out and chases after these things, but I'm telling you, like, the birds have everything they need. The lilies have everything they need. Why do you think that I won't provide you what you need?
Right.
But there's a distinction between what I need and what I want. And I'm not sure even as adults we have this figured out very well.
Right.
What I need versus what I want. Like our entire parenting experience, Melissa and I, have been like helping our kids understand there's a difference between need and want. Like you say, I need ice cream. You don't need ice cream. You want ice cream, and sometimes we'll provide ice cream.
Right.
You don't need it. What you need is you need a roof over your head. You need food to nourish your body. You need water to drink. You need all those things. Like, we provide what you need. There's provision is given. Everything you need, you have.
Right.
Everything else beyond that is a want. And I'm not trying to like say we don't give our kids what they want. Sometimes we do. But there's a distinction there. And I think even as adults, we miss that.
Yeah.
Because we see it around us. Like we get this FOMO. Like, well, everyone else has it.
Yeah.
Like, why don't I have this? And this is where I think the prosperity gospel begins to seep into culture as well.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm thinking about things that we assume we should have because everyone else has it. Only because I recently, because of getting divorced, had to go through the process of making a budget as a single mom with no child support.
Yeah.
And I had to be ruthless about what to cut and really look at all of the subscriptions that were coming out and saying, what is a want and what's a need? And realizing when I'm looking at this spreadsheet of things that up until that point, I viewed as a given because this is what everyone has. Things like Prime Video, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. I do not need. I never watch TV.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I was sitting down looking at my budget and realizing, why do I have subscriptions to all these things? I never watch TV.
Yeah.
And my kids only watch YouTube Kids.
Right. And your kids' age don't need Hulu.
No. Or really anything.
Yeah.
Even Disney Plus, they really never watch it. And so as I was cutting those things, canceling those subscriptions and cutting them out of my budget, I was realizing that I had this unknowing cultural expectation that I put upon myself to have these subscriptions to things that I never even used.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how quick the cultural standards begin to bleed into our lives. Like before we even know it, like the TV stuff.
Right.
We cut, we at one point had DirecTV. We got rid of it because I'm sick of paying for this. So all we had for the longest time was Netflix. That's it. Then we ended up getting Disney Plus. And that's the only two things that we have. And now it's you subscribe to everything. Like
Right.
you have to pay for everything. Now it's worse than cable was. But the expectation is, I mean, even in conversations, you ever notice like people say, "Hey, are you watching this show? Well, what's it on? Apple TV." I don't pay for Apple TV. I don't pay for all these things. But the expectation is, well, of course, everyone has that.
Right.
Like you should be watching this show. I can't watch that show unless you want to give me your login information. I'm not able to watch that show
just to watch one show.
Yeah. So, but it's this cultural expectation is to have and accumulate all those things. There's studies, and Tyler, you might be able to pull up a study that talks about the increased joy and satisfaction in like countries that don't have all the stuff that we have. Like we're one of the most prosperous societies we've ever seen in the history of time, and we have less joy and happiness in America as citizens of that culture than some countries who don't have all of that.
So for full transparency, as he's pulling this up, because I know that people are going to probably notice this and call me out on it if I don't say it publicly, I do subscribe to College Game Day in the fall.
Well, that's fair. I
but
do
then I
Sunday
cancel
ticket
it
things,
after
Oh,
football
absolutely.
season's
Yeah.
over. Okay.
Yeah. That's why we had DirecTV, was so I get
Also
NFL
not
Sunday
a
ticket.
need,
I got
but
you.
it is a serious want.
But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to give ourselves the wants every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's when our worry and anxiety about those things begin to take over,
Right.
and we focus so much on that than on what God is providing.
Right.
So even when we talk about generosity, like you can't. We often say you can't outgive God, but you can outworry God.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things this passage is hitting at is God's like, why are you so worried and anxious about all these things? Where at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
We have, small group comes to the house and stuff, and you always want to like present a clean house and this and that and have great space for it. Does it really matter all that much? Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? Because what matters is the relationship that we have with people, not what we're able to provide in front of them. What area do you feel like you struggle with the most when it comes to this area of worry and just trusting God's provision in your life?
My kids, for sure. I currently feel very inadequate, and not. This isn't monetary, but it does bleed into monetary frequently. 2 mornings ago, my kids had woken up. They came into my room and crawled into bed, and my son asked for snuggles. And he's cute, so I gave him his snuggles. And at the same time, maybe 3 seconds after he asked for snuggles and like crawled into my arms, my daughter said she wanted snuggles. And so I tried to, roll over and give them each an arm, and they both were upset because they both wanted both arms wrapped around them. And that was one of those moments that I felt like I'm not enough to provide for them. And that feeling often bleeds financially, like knowing my daughter is starting to lose teeth and I'm seeing her new teeth come in, and I'm watching and knowing we're going to have to do some braces
Yep.
at some
You
point.
got to provide.
And
Yeah.
that's years down the road, but I'm
Hmm.
already stressing about the cost of braces.
Yeah.
And I'm not even close to being there yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of how it plays out for me.
Yeah. It seeps in quick,
Hmm.
especially with the kids for me too.
Yeah.
It's making sure I'm providing, because I think one of the um, really important parts of how I see my role is protector and provider.
Right.
And as sole financial provider in our family, which we chose, and that's what we elected to be and do.
Yeah.
Like it's a tension and a stress that comes into your life, because you're like, what if I'm not providing enough or good enough
Hmm.
even? So it's not even like, do they have everything they need? Is it good enough?
Yeah.
Am I setting them up well for success in the future?
Mm.
And then it's the tension between your kids not always understanding the different needs and wants or whatever, and say, man, I just hope they see
Mm.
that we're doing our best to provide what they need in life. It's not
Yeah.
always the greatest. We didn't always do the best job of it. But also to hope that they see, I think a little bit of what we're seeing here in Luke is like, bro, you have a lot more than a lot of people.
Hmm.
Like, if you just step back and realize how extremely blessed you are to have what you have.
Hmm.
The problem is we always look at the people who have more, not the people who have the same or less,
Mm.
right? There's always a comparison trap. The comparison is almost always with people who have more
Yeah.
or do more or whatever, have more opportunity, whatever it is. That's what we always compare up rather than compare down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even advocating for comparison, but if we compared down, we'd be like, oh, we're actually in the top 5% or whatever.
Right.
There's probably stats on that. Actually, Tyler, look up how much. Let's say if someone's making $100,000, just use a round number. What percentage of the world does that put them in? There's actually a website you can go, like myworth.com
I
or
think I've
whatever
heard
it's
of this.
called,
Yeah.
and you can type in how much you owe, and it tells you in the
How much you make.
world
Yeah.
where you fall. And it's shocking to us sometimes what percentage we actually
Yeah.
fall into. I'll pull that up here in a second.
Hmm.
So I think it's interesting that in this passage, Jesus says, calls him little flock.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
What like triggers in your mind when you hear that? What's your thought? Like, why is he saying little flock?
Little flock. I don't know if this is what Jesus is doing, but it feels intimate to me. And maybe that's the opposite of what he's trying to do,
Yeah.
but it feels gentle. Whereas in other relationships, maybe when I've heard people telling me, don't be afraid, it's commanding and authoritative. And this feels paternal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I kind of, when I read it, for me, it sounds like it's not about size, but it's about the vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
of the group. Like, you got a bunch of people who are worried or whatever, and it is kind of parental, kind of carrying a lot more intimate.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of anxiety that we feel when we begin to worry about things.
Both my kids are in a season where they're struggling with fear quite a bit, specifically my daughter. And I'm equating it in my mind to when she comes to me and says she's afraid, this phrase that I refer to her as, I'll say, oh, sweet girl, I'm right here. And so kind of that comparison of tenderness in approaching something that could feel very defensive to address, which is fear over material possessions, finances, and the way that Jesus approaches that in such a disarming way by referring to them as little flock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
I think it's again, we want to provide wealth for ourselves, but we have to understand that God's providing provision for us, and allowing God to be that provider in our lives, and knowing that it's enough.
Yeah.
It really is enough, that we're not judged and determined by what we have in a relationship with the world, but God is going to provide everything that we need, and what we need might look different than what we want it to look like. Because again, wants and needs, very, very different things.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about gratitude and the impact that gratitude has in this. Research shows How gratitude practices can shift perspective from scarcity to abundance.
Mm.
That literally rewires your brain, shifting attention away from what's missing to what's already provided. University of California, Davis and University of Miami research found that people who wrote about gratitude for 10 weeks were more optimistic, they exercised more, had fewer doctor visits than those who focused on their problems. I'm not a journaler, but as I've kind of dug into some of that research in the past, I'm like, man, I should probably start doing like a gratitude journal for this very simple reason. It seems to impact your entire body and your entire life.
Yeah.
And everything that you do. You seem like a journaler.
I have been in the past. I'm doing it a lot less now, but the way that I've been practicing gratitude in this season is by habit stacking. I feel like I've probably talked about this in past episodes.
Do it again.
It's
good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I habit stack when I'm brushing my teeth. I know that that's when I'm going to practice gratitude. So I'm praying, thanking God, listing out to myself and to him things that I'm grateful for while I'm brushing my teeth. That way I know every day, habit stacking, brushing teeth means expressing, identifying gratitude. And for me, I'm sure there's science behind this. I have experienced that there seems to be a direct correlation between my ability to identify and practice gratitude to the joy I experience during the day as well.
Yeah.
And that's been surprising.
Yeah. I think when I think back at some of the most gratitude-filled people that I know, there were also some of the most generous people I know, some of the most content people I know, some of the most joy-filled people that I know. Like they're all, I don't even know which one came first, but they were all connected together. I do think that taking steps in generosity helps fuel that gratitude.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so closely. I don't think you can have gratitude without being generous. I don't honestly think you can have contentment without generosity.
Well, I mean, Jesus makes that connection here, right? Between verses 32 and 33. That may have been where you were going to go. But the do not be afraid, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. So he's talking about, again, flowers of the field, the birds. And then out of that command to not be afraid about those things is, so now sell your possessions and give to the poor. Be generous now that you're not afraid to hoard what you have.
Yeah. And I think that you and I are both parents, so I think we can look at this and be like, oh, I know what God's feeling here, right? So the Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Like it is a deep pleasure and an honor to provide for my kids what they need. It is discouraging when there's no gratitude for that, and it's just simply a desire for more and more and more and more. Like I need more, I need more, I want more, I want more. Now, I'm not saying my kids do that. My kids are great as they've grown. I think they fully understand this. But there's a deep desire to be like, hey, like just like acknowledge that you've been provided for, and be grateful for that. And it sets a foundation and a launch pad for everything else in our lives. So in our faith, when we step back and say, hey, I'm grateful for the provision that God has given me in my life. I have a roof over my head. I have food to eat. I have a family who loves me and I love them. Like I am extremely grateful for what God has done in my life. And that allows me to step into generosity, allows me to not get sucked into this FOMO that I have to have the boat and the this and the that and like all those things that society tells me I need, and it definitely does. I just read an article, or started reading an article that it has come out that Facebook at one point, maybe recently, was targeting like teenage girls who they identify as deleting selfies. And when they found that there were teenage girls deleting selfies, they were targeting them with makeup and beauty ads. Oh
my gosh.
Right. So there was an intentionality behind, hey, they're self-conscious. Let's target them and show them what they need in order to find happiness, which is not.
Don't like that.
You and I both know it's so jacked up.
Right.
Because it's not going to work. It's never going to give you what you need. And Jesus say, look, is that it? Tyler? What's the article? It says Facebook allegedly detected when teen girls deleted selfies so it could serve them beauty ads. I'm not one to like sit here and say organizations are evil. That's evil practice. That's like manipulating
Yeah.
like emotions and feelings and self-worth and
Wow.
identity and so many different things.
Wow.
So here's Tyler found this. So $100,850 is the breaking point in the United States between middle class and upper class for individual income.
Holy moly.
Individual income distribution. So if you're making $100,000 or more, you are part of the 20% of the population that is considered upper class.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the crazy thing. I think the majority of those people would consider themselves middle class.
Yeah.
Right. But when you just look at the breakdown, what is it? Owning class is about 1% of the population. Those are people making $430,000 and up. What's the 304,000, Tyler?
It's like
the top of the upper class. Okay. Yeah. Which is crazy when you think about it, because I don't know. I think most people wouldn't classify. That number is actually a little bit shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have guessed that number would have been the start of upper class.
What would you were thinking it would have been higher than
I
that?
thought it was going to be higher than that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's where most people are. So we just
Oh, yeah.
assume medium household income is $80,000.
Yep.
That's the medium. That's across the whole nation. So anyway, all that to be said, there's this huge pull of money and resources and finances in our lives, and then there's also the failure to understand where we really are
Mm-hmm.
in the grand scheme of things. Like
Yeah.
so many people who are upper class would say, "Oh, I'm middle class." Some of them would probably even say lower class,
Mhm.
just because of the perception.
Yeah.
And that Facebook article we mentioned is just one way that society works really hard to make us chase after those things that will not give you value, will not give you self-worth, will not
Mhm.
give you peace and joy.
Mhm.
And this is, I think, what Jesus is hitting at is like, hey, don't worry about all those things. They're not going to give you what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I'll give you what you're looking for.
Right.
And I do provide those things. And when we show gratitude for those and we become generous, like he calls us to, like provide to the poor, sell your possessions, give it to the poor.
Yeah.
Like we begin to actually experience that in a very powerful way
Mm.
in our lives. I think like when we've taken, my wife and I, a generosity journey together over our marriage. She's naturally gifted in giving. Generosity, it's her thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to be generous at levels I honestly never thought we would be at yet. We had this all-in initiative here at 242, and we made the boldest, most risky financial commitment we've ever made in our lives. And what are we, just a few months into it?
Mm-hmm.
And we sat down and we're looking at where we're at. So just here's how we've done ours. Like there's X number that we've committed to every month, and then we said, hey, we also went over and above, and there's X number of dollars that we have to come up with somewhere else, some
Mm-hmm.
other way to go over and above that. And I sat down and I said, hey, I just want you to know that we're a few months into that, and we're only a couple $100s from that over and above amount
Mhm.
already. Everything else is going to naturally come out through our automated giving.
Mm-hmm.
And we stand back and we're like, wow, look at what God did
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of that. Like when we said, hey, we're going to prioritize our generosity, and in the midst of that, be grateful for what God has done.
Right.
God said, okay. Like, and now we're looking at our commitment, we're like, I think we undershot.
Mm.
I think we undershot what we could do. And the only reason we're able to, and look, I'm not trying to toot my own horn.
Yeah.
The only reason we're able to do that is because we step back and say, wow, look at what God has done in our lives and how
Right.
grateful we are for that. And I don't need that much more.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have what we need. And
Right.
we're still able to do our vacations and do fun things with the kids. Do they hear no when they want ice cream? Yeah, sometimes
Mhm.
they do. Because, and I've had this conversation with my son. I said, hey, I think he said something about, he jokingly said, oh, because we're poor. And I was like, no. We're not poor. And the reason we're not poor is because we say no. It's because we don't do
Mhm.
everything we want to do every moment we want to do
That's
it.
right.
That we're not trying to pursue that. So
Yeah.
I think there's this step that we all have to take about, hey, let's start leaning into gratitude in a much more powerful
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Any other tips on how you do that?
No, I think I touched on this a minute ago, but I'm going to expound on it a little
Mhm.
more too. Is when prior to the event,
Mhm.
um, I oftentimes felt anxiety over money in a dual income
Mm.
household. And now,
Yeah.
being a single income household, it's interesting. It's a miracle, frankly, is what it is. How I feel like I have more margin than I did before.
Mm-hmm.
And committing to all in as a single mom and making, for me, a very courageous commitment and pledge. And then trusting that God would come through with it. And then I remember the first time it came out of my bank account um, was the first month that I was only living on my income and no like supplement.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure. And now we're again a few months into it, and I've seen every month that I've had money left over in the bank, even with giving more than I've ever given
Yeah.
to a church before.
Yeah.
And that's not prosperity gospel. I think it goes back to what we've been saying is
Mm-hmm.
the path of gratitude and then generosity that comes out of gratitude. Again, not tooting my own horn, because it actually is not about me at all.
Yeah.
It's all about God. When I did my budget to figure out how to give what I felt called to give to All In, the math that I figured out is that I would have $17 a month left over every month.
Yeah.
But I've had more than $17 a month
Yeah.
left over every month because God.
Yeah. Because God is good.
Right.
Yeah. It's the difference between demanding a mansion and receiving provision
Right.
from God. And again, we made the comment, we're not talking prosperity gospel, because we're not
Right.
saying that God's going to make you wealthy
Right.
or he's going to make you rich, but he will honor your generosity, he'll honor your gratitude. And again, that doesn't mean you're going to be sitting with millions of dollars in your account with a big
Yeah.
old
You don't need that.
fancy house, but you have contentment, you have joy.
Yeah.
There's always the tension about like, how do we provide for our future and trust in God's provision? Like, it's the manna principle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That God gave manna to them in the wilderness, and if they kept it, it's just going to spoil.
Yeah.
So stop storing it up for tomorrow. Trust that God will provide for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we also live in a world that's hard to do, because we do have a responsibility to our kids and our families and all these things to provide. So there's a balance between like being wise stewards and preparing ourselves for the future, but also like being generous and
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, I don't need everything
Yeah.
for the future. We still have to lean into this whole manna principle.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Here's the big question that I wrestle with when we talk about the fear of not having enough is what would change if you really believe that God's got your provisions covered?
Mm. I mean, I think this is what I experienced this past spring when we were going through the All In, beginning of All In, and I was praying about what God wanted me to do,
Mm-hmm.
is be more generous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think generosity with our money will lead the way on everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see it all the time. And so once we become more generous with our finances, I became more generous with my time,
Mm-hmm.
more generous with my heart, my attention, my
Mm-hmm.
prayers,
Yeah.
everything.
My fear was that, and I use fear very loosely. This wasn't something that was keeping me up at night, but my concern was I'm going to give all of my margin to All In, and then I won't be able to respond to immediate needs of the people in my life when things arise.
Yeah.
And that also hasn't been the case. God has also provided opportunities and means for me to respond to the needs of people around me and continue to be part of an Acts 2:42
Yeah.
body.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think this is one of those elements that we all have some fear around, because there is a genuine, real fear that I won't be able to provide for my kids
Yeah.
if something happens.
Right.
And there's also the unnecessary fear that goes like beyond that,
Mhm.
like fear that I won't have a new car or come on, none of that stuff matters. Society tells us it does, but none of that stuff really matters. But I think it's a constant tension, not to be solved, but to be managed. And as we've talked about, gratitude is one of the ways to manage that. Generosity is one of the ways to manage that. We often say we don't want something from you, we want something for you, because we do. We want you to find freedom from what culture says about you and how you need to function. And we want you to find exactly what Jesus is talking about. Like, you don't have to worry about these things because I will provide for you. It may shift what that looks like, because we may think provision means I chase the Joneses or I have this or I have that. But God says, no, I know what provision looks like. I know what you need, and I will provide that for you. It's about trust. And how we lean into this, I think, says a lot about how we see God. Do we trust him?
Yeah.
Do we trust him to provide for us? We've talked about, I think it was our last episode, we talked about kind of remembering. Last couple, we talked about fears, we're remembering what God has done. That's a big part of the gratitude piece. We're remembering what God has done in the past, knowing that he's going to continue to be faithful in the future. Because the Bible says that God is faithful and true. Okay, last 10%.
I talked a little bit about how God has, over the last several months, freed me up and given me the opportunity to be generous to others. But I also want to make sure I identify and affirm the countless ways that my community has shown up to care for me, so that now I can be in this position. Meals. I don't think I cooked a meal for 3 months after the event. Currently, my neighbors, none of whom attend 242, have pooled their resources and are paying for weekly lawn mowing service.
Oh, nice.
For me through the summer, so that I can just be present for the kids. And not have to worry about that. Countless things like that again elicits gratitude in me, and then a desire to respond with generosity back to my community. So
good.
Yeah, it's the cycle.
Yeah, it is. I'm so glad you have that community around you. I think my last 10% is you got to take a step. Whether that's, gratitude journaling, which is honestly a step that I'm starting to take now, or be generous. Find a way to be generous. And one of the things I always say to church people is, if you question the reason that we're saying that, go give somewhere else. I do believe biblically you should be giving to your church. I think that's a part of, we can get into that. But if you don't trust why we're saying be generous, go be generous somewhere. Watch what God does, not just through your generosity, but in you, in your heart, when you start doing that. And I think you'll start seeing some of these things shift, and some of that anxiety be alleviated from your life, simply because you stepped into the call that God has for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Great.